This woman, Xiao Mei, has just got married. Mei was cooking for her husband. The gas suddenly exploded as she was lighting the fire. Xiao Mei's husband just looked on coldly. Xiao Mei went downstairs to dry her clothes. She slipped and fell to the floor. Her husband didn't react to the explosion. Xiao Mei looked back and found soap smeared all over the steps. All this was arranged by her husband on purpose. Her husband was trying to get her killed, and Mei puts up with her husband's complaints about her in silence, because Mei made a very green mistake. Before they met and got married, she was told by a matchmaker that she was gentle and virtuous, and that she was a good cook. After the marriage, she realized that she didn't know how to do housework. But the man was still full of love and affection. Mei was unhappy with the fact that she had just married, and was left alone. Her husband thinks we should develop a relationship before we have sex. Every night, her husband hid in the toilet. She called her mother's family to complain that the man was useless. All this was overheard by her husband. Her husband heard all of this. The more her husband thought about it, the angrier he became. He tore up the honeymoon ticket. Afterwards, her husband began to distance himself from Mei. He used cold violence to make her see the error of her ways. This made her lonelier, until one day a man appeared, made Xiao Mei's heart. She was in love with him. This man was called Wu Qian. He was her husband's cousin. His strong body made Xiao Mei fall in love at first sight. Wu Qian liked to drink tea. Mei asked her husband to teach him how to make tea. To her surprise, she turned around and served the tea to Wu Qian. Wu Qian wanted to eat lamb. Mei bought it early in the morning and learned how to make it. The simple husband thought that Xiao Mei was slowly changing. The husband also wanted to do something for his wife. He brought in things and built a new kitchen for Xiao Mei. He wanted to get back together with his wife, but Wu Qian, who had promised to go away together, he left without saying goodbye. It was like her soul was taken away from her. Xiao Mei told her husband all about it. The smile on her husband's face froze as he listened. The smile on her husband's face froze. She ate the lamb in her hand. The next day he found out her cousin's address. He found his cousin, taking out the weapon he had prepared beforehand, stabbed Wu Qian hard from behind, but he was soon pinned to the ground and frantically rubbed. It was not only his face, but also his dignity that fell at this moment. Faced with his wife's reassurances, the husband didn't want to listen anymore. He drove Mei away without mercy. Xiao Mei had no face to stay any longer. She had just packed her bags and left the house when she was molested by the gangsters around her. It turned out that Xiao Mei's affair with her cousin had become public knowledge. Her husband couldn't bear to help her out. This showed her husband's commitment. Even though he betrayed her, he remembered his old love. Mei decided never to leave her man again. But little did Mei know, what follows is a series of revenge from her husband. This man is a bit mean. Deliberately covered the stairs with soap. His wife rolled down the stairs and fell, but he just stood by and watched. His wife was almost killed by LPG while cooking. It was all the husband's plan, to get rid of his wife Mei. He stayed up all night staring at Mei with murderous intent. Mei took it all in her stride. She was waiting for her husband to forgive her. That night, Xiao Mei stood on the rooftop, asking her husband to push her off. Her husband walked up and pushed her hard. He held her tightly in his arms again. Mei kept apologizing, looking at her sincere wife. The husband's heart began to waver. The husband decided to try to forgive Xiao Mei. In the days that followed, Xiao Mei really changed. She took the initiative to do housework to improve the relationship between her mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. The man looked on and laughed, but the good times didn't last long. The couple met Wu Qian. Seeing the couple back together, Wu Qian came up to them and provoked them. The husband couldn't stand it any longer and chased after her with his foot on the gas. If Wu Qian's motorbike hadn't ridden down to the river, she would have been in for a bloodbath today. The husband and wife worked together as a team. The two of them took a step closer to each other. But one day her husband came home, only to find his cousin at home again. After being refused to renew their relationship, he threatened to post Xiao Mei's photo on the internet. The husband held back his anger and asked Xiao Mei to leave first. He told Xiao Mei to go out and talk to Wu Qian alone. Xiao Mei went out and got on a yellow cab, went to the vegetable market to buy a leg of lamb. When Xiao Mei returned, her house exploded. Xiao Mei rushed in and the smoke was already pouring out. The scene was a mess. Xiao Mei saw a hand with her name tattooed on it. He knew it so well. It was her husband's hand, the name her husband had tattooed before they got married. Mei was devastated, but the police suspected. Xiao Mei and Wu Qian worked together to kill her husband. Surveillance showed that after the explosion, Wu Qian jumped into the river from the back door. No sign of him. Wu Qian could not be caught. The police had to torture Xiao Mei. Xiao Mei said she had no knowledge of the incident. The police had to take out a lie detector and interrogate Mei. But Xiao Mei had already thought of a way to deal with the lie detector. Woman sticks nails in the soles of her shoes because she wanted to fool the police lie detector. The intense pain in the bottom of her foot made Mei's heart rate increase. The lie detector gave a red light before the police could even ask. The police had to let Mei go. But as Mei was walking up the stairs, the police noticed something unusual from his limping walk. Mei had his shoes taken off. The police found nails in the soles of his shoes. Mei was given a new lie detector test. The police asked her, "Did you kill your husband?" He said no. The polygraph showed no abnormalities. This meant that Mei was telling the truth. The police had no choice but to let Mei go. The question is, why did Xiao Mei not commit the crime? Why did he lie about the lie test? What was he trying to cover up? Mei is at home packing her bags to leave. Suddenly a hand reached out and grabbed him. It was Xiao Mei's husband. His sleeve was empty. The man who died was Wu Qian. That day Wu Qian and her husband had an argument. Xiao Mei took out a leg of lamb from the fridge and hit Wu Qian, but she accidentally killed Wu Qian. The couple decided to destroy the evidence. They cut off Wu Qian's arm. The husband then took a large amount of painkillers, placed his hand in a bucket of ice cubes. When his arm was numb, he cut off the arm with his wife's name on it. He then sent his wife out to buy groceries. At the door, he asked the child to close the door for him, so that the child could see the man as a witness. He also asked the vendor to chop up the leg of lamb, eliminating evidence. The husband put on Wu Qian's clothes. He jumped into the river with the sound of the explosion and fled, creating a crime scene where the dead body was not seen. Fooled everyone. The beauty of a blind date is that everything is new. When Mei finally came to her senses, risked being killed by a man, a sincere attempt to atone for her sins.